Are you a hospitality or tourism business owner and unsure where your digital marketing money is going and if it's making an impact? Supercharge your digital marketing strategy with the magic of key performance indicators, KPIs. This is where keeping an eye on how well your digital marketing is doing and can completely change the game. Before we begin, I'll introduce our presenter, Sarah March. Sarah March is the owner of Grey Dove Design House Limited, a marketing agency based out of Regina. To date, she's worked with over 30 local businesses to expand their reach, communicate to their audience, and achieve their business goals through social media. In total, Sarah has worked with almost 90 social media accounts spanning 9 different social media platforms. One of her career highlights was traveling to Colorado in 2016 to train 2 sister casinos, employees, and management to manage their company's social media accounts. Sarah is passionate about doing anything social media and enjoys sharing what she has learned in the 11 years she's managed social media accounts for businesses. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Sorry. Okay. So just checking that everybody can see my screen. If you can, just feel free to pop in the chat that you're having issues seeing it, and I will adjust accordingly. So welcome to the Revving Up Your Marketing Strategy with the Magic of Key Performance Indicators workshop. I'm excited to spend the next hour with you. And if you do have any questions, just again, feel free to pop them in the chat as we move on, and then we will get to them as soon as we can. Just a little overview of our agenda today. So first, we'll kind of touch on what key performance indicators are and why they're magical from a marketing lens. Then we'll go on to when to use KPIs when engaging in business activities and how to choose them. And then finally, we'll just do a how to apply KPIs to your digital marketing strategy so you can take some of this with you and start applying it in your business today. Just one other quick thing is, so I will probably be saying KPIs quite often because key performance indicators is quite a mouthful. So just keep in mind that KPIs are key performance indicators. And I'm just going to skip over this because we kind of went over my bio. Expectations. So if you were registered for this workshop as of last night, you should have received a workbook and resource book. If you didn't receive those, just feel free to pop your email in the chat, and we will get the workbook and resource book to you as soon as possible. There'll just be a couple exercises and quizzes in the workbook. And then, yes, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Okay, so the purpose of this workshop is obviously understanding KPIs and just learning the basics of how KPIs can support your digital marketing strategy, and then setting goals that make sense. So understanding how to set realistic goals for your digital marketing efforts to make sure that your KPIs are on point for tracking, and then making smart decisions with the data. So using data to make smart decisions about your digital marketing strategy. So I have 4 goals set out for this workshop for us today. First would be understanding the concept of KPIs and why they matter in marketing, then learning how to choose the right KPIs aligned to specific marketing objectives. And then third would be setting achievable targets for your chosen KPIs. And finally, knowing how to use the data to make better marketing decisions moving forward. So let's get into it. Now that all of us are here to figure out how to track our digital marketing efforts to see if they are worth the time, money, and resources through KPIs, we'll start with our first module of the workshop focused on what KPIs are and why they're magical from a marketing lens. As it's important to know what these strange KPIs are all about. I know the word key performance indicator, KPI, can sometimes be intimidating. So promise you this workshop will not be, and I will make it as simple and basic as possible. And I'm excited to go on with this. So what we'll learn in this module is we'll touch on digital marketing and key performance indicators, or KPIs. So the first thing I'm going to have is just if you wouldn't mind popping into the chat a vote and just kind of say like where you're at when it comes to engaging in digital marketing for your business. So I'm kind of curious who here is engaging in digital marketing for their business. So leaning on some of those digital marketing channels to kind of get the word out about your business or services that you offer. If you could pop it in the chat, that would be awesome. All the time. Okay. Anybody else using digital marketing strategies? All the time, but eager to better measure. All the time. Yes, same. All the time, but want to learn more. Yes. So I'm, as a marketer myself, sometimes when you're trying to track your digital marketing efforts, it's kind of complicated because not everything is black and white where there's a bit of gray matter here. So hopefully this KPI kind of thing helps you get a better rein on your digital marketing strategies. So that's great. Okay, so we're just going to quickly touch on digital marketing because it coincides with this workshop. So digital marketing is the use of digital channels to promote products or services, connect with customers, and build brand awareness and loyalty. So just some of the many digital marketing channels out there. So we have affiliate marketing, content marketing, search engine optimization, paid per click advertising, social media marketing, email marketing, influencer marketing, and the list goes on. So let's switch gears here quickly. If you wouldn't mind popping in the chat for this vote, who knows who knows what KPIs are? Do you have a clue? Do you kind of know what KPIs are? Yes, where are you at with KPIs? Kind of. Okay. Yes. Awesome. Okay, that is great. Thank you. So it looks like everyone kind of has an understanding of KPIs, which is always good. So just a quick definition of KPIs, obviously for if anyone isn't aware of what they are, they're specific numbers or metrics that help you understand how well your business is doing and if you're reaching your goals. So some KPI examples would be website traffic, conversion rates, email open rates, social media, and ROI for marketing spend. And then we can take it one step further to include a digital marketing campaign that is promoting something to earn your business money. So an example, a booking promotion on special dates that's been advertised through your business channels, new member signups during a certain time period, number of new visitors to your restaurant for the month of April, or the average bill size, total ticket sales revenues. There's quite a few KPIs that we can kind of come up with. So why are KPIs magical? They allow you to gauge the success of your digital marketing initiatives, such as reaching and engaging target audiences, driving conversions, and achieving overall marketing objectives. So they're basically like scorecards that show you how your marketing is doing. Monitoring KPIs during the course of your digital marketing promotion will allow you to gain insight on what's working, what's not, and how to move forward. Which will take us to our next module, which is when to use KPIs in business activities and how to choose them. Now that we know what they are, let's find out kind of quickly when we can use them. So during this module, we'll learn when to use KPIs, what business objectives are and why they're important, and then what SMART goals are and why they matter. Okay, so when to use KPIs. When would you use them in your business? Using them to monitor the effectiveness of your digital marketing efforts is kind of why we're here. So an example would be a tour guide company that is investing in an email marketing campaign that will want to see if the amount of time, energy, and resources is worthwhile by pinpointing what they are trying to achieve and if they successfully achieve those outcomes. So, how to choose them. Focusing on your business's objectives and goals are crucial when choosing KPIs. They serve as the guiding framework for choosing KPIs that are relevant, meaningful, and aligned. By ensuring that your KPIs are directly tied to your desired outcomes, you can effectively measure progress, drive accountability, and make informed decisions to drive success. So determining business objectives. Business objectives are like targets or goals that businesses set for themselves to reach during a specific time frame. Helping businesses stay focused to achieve certain outcomes, such as making more money, growing your customer base, or improving services. Business objectives are important because they provide the foundation and context for measuring the success when you do have those KPIs. And they do this through alignment, relevance, focus, measurement, and accountability. So alignment, KPIs should directly align with the broader business objectives to ensure that digital marketing efforts are contributing to the overall goals of the organization. Relevance, business objectives help identify which aspects of digital marketing are most important for achieving success. For example, if the objective is to increase revenue, relevant KPIs might include conversion rates, sales, growth, or return on investment from digital marketing campaigns. Focus. So business objectives provide clarity and focus for selecting KPIs that are meaningful and impactful. They help prioritize which metrics to measure and monitor, preventing the tracking of irrelevant or vanity metrics that do not contribute to your business goals. Measurement. So business objectives provide criteria for evaluating the effectiveness of digital marketing efforts. KPIs serve as measurable indicators of progress towards achieving these objectives, allowing marketers to track performance, identify areas for improvement, and make data-driven decisions. And accountability. So by linking KPIs to business objectives, stakeholders or owners or key people in your business can hold the digital marketing team or who is managing your digital marketing channels accountable for the performance and results. Clear alignment between KPIs and business objectives ensures that everyone understands the purpose of the digital marketing efforts and their impact on the organization's success. So some examples for business objectives would be increasing occupancy rate, so aiming to fill more rooms or accommodations to maximize revenue and profitability. We'll improve online reputation, so enhance the business's online presence and reputation through positive reviews, ratings, engagement on review platforms and social media. Enhance guest satisfaction, so provide exceptional services and memorable experiences to improve guest satisfaction and drive repeat business through that. Expanding market presence, so growing the business by entering new markets to expand into new geographical regions or targeting new customer segments. And then we have boost revenue per available room, which would be increasing the revenue by optimizing pricing strategies and upselling additional services or amenities. And then reducing operating costs. Sorry, I'm kind of going all over here. So like streamlining operations, optimizing resource utilization, and implementing cost-saving measures to improve profitability and efficiency, enhancing your brand loyalty, so building strong relationships with customers, fostering loyalty and encouraging repeat business, increasing guest bookings, so encouraging guests to book a certain way directly to the business's website or reservation system, instead of using a third-party app. These are all business objective examples that may or may not work with your business or be part of your business's objectives, just trying to kind of get an idea of what business objectives would be. So that kind of takes us to our first workbook exercise. So it's just on page 4 of your workbook. If you haven't received the workbook, feel free to pop your email in the chat and I can get that to you right away. But I'm just gonna set a timer for 5 minutes. And then if you wouldn't mind quickly just doing the workbook, we will revisit this right after that. Okay. So now that we've covered business objectives, it's important to touch on SMART goals and why they're important when choosing and creating KPIs. So when creating KPIs, adopting SMART goals is essential because they provide a clear and structured approach to defining objectives. Here's why SMART goals are crucial. Clarity, so SMART goals help with clarity and the specific objectives that KPIs are meant to measure. Measurement, so KPIs need to be measurable to track the progress. Attainability, so SMART goals emphasize setting targets that are achievable and realistic. Alignment, so KPIs should be aligned with the broader goals and priorities of the organization. And then time bound, so setting deadlines for achieving these objectives is important for monitoring the progress and also driving accountability. So overall, SMART goals provide a structured framework for creating KPIs that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And by adhering to SMART criteria, organizations can ensure that their KPIs are meaningful, accountable, and aligned with the organization's strategic direction, driving performance improvements and contributing to the overall business success. So we have our SMART goals, but so first would be specific. So obviously the first letter in SMART, I'm sure most have heard of the SMART goals, is SMART. And so a breakdown would just be clearly defining what needs need to be measured with your KPIs, and then just being specific about the who, what, where, and when, and why. So just an example here would be increase website bookings, conversion rates by 20% in 6 months. Measurable. So a breakdown of the measurable, or the M, would be just establishing metrics that can be quantified and tracked over time. So increasing monthly website traffic from organic search by 25% in 6 months. Achievable, so ensuring that the goals that you make are realistic and attainable, given your resources and constraints. An example would be increasing social media engagement rate by 10% in 3 months. Are relevant, so aligning your KPIs to the broader goals and priorities, business objectives of the organization. So an example would be increasing new signups generated from social media campaigns by 15% in 3 months. And then T, time bound. So a breakdown would just be setting clear timeframes, milestones, and checkpoints for achieving the desired outcomes within a defined timeframe. So achieving 20% increase in ticket sales through paid search campaigns within 3 months. So that was a really quick overview of SMART goals, just because I feel that most people at this point do know how to make SMART goals. If you do have any questions about SMART goals, just feel free to reach out to me in the chat. But if not, we are going to carry on to a workbook quiz. So your workbook quiz on SMART goals is on page 5, and I'm just going to set the timer for 5 minutes. But again, if you could please let me know once you have finished your workbook quiz, we could probably get going sooner than later. Thank you. So what does the S in SMART goals stand for? And the answer is B, specific. Number 2, which of the following is an example of a measurable KPI? The answer was B, increase website traffic. Number 3, why is it important for KPIs to be time bound? And the answer is B, drive accountability and focus. Okay, so now that we've covered digital marketing channels, KPI, business objectives, and SMART goals, it's time to move on to how to apply KPIs to a digital marketing strategy. So we'll go over what we'll learn in this module is we'll go over a 7-step process to follow when creating KPIs or to have in your back pocket. And then we will head into going through the motions together by completing a KPI template document and creating a KPI tracking sheet with a given scenario that we'll go through together. So when creating KPIs, the best place to start is by identifying the overarching business objectives that your digital marketing efforts aim to support. These objectives could include increasing sales, generating leads, improving brand awareness, enhancing customer engagement, and much more. The second step when creating KPIs would be to look at the identified business objectives and then translate them into specific and actionable goals. These goals should be SMART, which we just kind of went over. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, to provide clarity and focus for your digital marketing efforts. The third step would be defining KPIs. So once the goals are established, it's time to identify the key metrics of KPIs that will help you track your progress towards achieving your goals. KPIs should directly align with your goals and provide actionable insights into the performance of your digital marketing campaign. And then the fourth step would be choosing metrics that are relevant to your specific goals and objectives. So for example, if your goal is to increase website traffic, relevant KPIs could include website visits, unique visitors, page views, bounce rate, and much more. So ensure that the selected metrics accurately reflect the success of your digital marketing efforts. And that's super, super important. Okay, and then the fifth step would be to set targets and benchmark. So it's time to establish the specific targets or benchmark for each KPI to serve as indicators of success. So if we have the benchmark numbers, then once we're tracking and measuring the performance, we'll be able to kind of see the difference and see how successful the digital marketing campaign is. So these targets should be realistic and achievable based on your current performance or objectives. And then the sixth step would be monitoring and tracking. So once you've done everything else, it's time to implement a system for monitoring and tracking the performance of your chosen KPIs, which is super important as well, because if you're not monitoring and tracking, you can't really measure any numbers or anything based on the benchmark figures that you just created. So regularly reviewing and analyzing the data to assess progress towards your goals and identify any areas of improvement. Then the last step in the whole KPI process would be analyzing and pivoting. So based on insights gathered from monitoring your KPIs, making adjustments to your digital marketing strategies as needed, continuously optimizing your campaigns to maximize performance and achieve your desired outcomes. So if you could please go to, in your workbook, pages 6 and 7. We will go through a KPI scenario together, and then we will we will create a kind of a KPI tracking document, a rough one. And just to note also in the resource book, because there is quite a bit of information for this workbook, there is just kind of an outline on page, I guess, so page 4 has a list of business objectives, page 5 has the SMART goal definitions, but page 6 to 9 is kind of what we want to focus on in the resource book. So it just kind of has a KPI scenario, which we'll kind of be using for the workbook, and that's on page 6. And then it just has an example of a KPI template already filled out just for reference on your end, and then also just kind of a quick KPI tracking template document, so you can kind of get the gist of how to set things up. But we will go through all of this together. And of course, yes, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. Okay. So what you'll need for this to be successful is just making sure that you have your workbook and your favorite writing tool, and then obviously your resource book for reference, and just so that you can see the scenario on your own terms as well. But we will have the scenario popped up here. So for the scenario, for this KPI template document that we're going to do, here it is. So we're going to do a bed and breakfast in Saskatoon. And at business objectives, I just added one for simplicity, but obviously you can have 3 to 5 business objectives. So the one for our scenario will be increasing occupancy rate by 20% within the next year. And then digital marketing channels that we're using. So I put Facebook advertising, and then metrics to focus on. So with the Facebook advertising would be reach, engagement, click-through rate, conversion rate. But obviously also some things to think about would just be if the occupancy rate actually is increasing, that would be a great metric to track. So going into the document, I'm going to share a different screen right now just so that we can fill this out together. So just give me one moment. This will give you a couple of seconds to get your stuff in order as well. So I'm just gonna stop my share and I'm just gonna share a different screen. Okay. So I'm sharing a new screen. If anyone can't see it, or if for some reason the right screen isn't being shared, let me know. It should just be kind of like a brief overview of the KPI document that is in your workbook. But for this scenario, obviously, because I'm sharing a different screen with you, feel free to just keep referencing page 6 in your resource book, because it has all the important details to make this KPI document scenario work. So let's get at it. So for the KPI name, what we're going to call this is occupancy rate. And the reason why is just because the business objective is to increase the occupancy rate by 20% within the next year. So something super simple, occupancy rate. Now the definition. So we're going to say the percentage of rooms occupied at the B&B, bed and breakfast, within a specific period, which is 1 year that we know. And then the purpose of it, this KPI is to measure utilization. Oops. And assess the effectiveness of digital marketing efforts, particularly our Facebook ads campaign, and attracting guests. Because we want to kind of see, based on the scenario, if our Facebook advertising is actually yielding results. And in this case, our measurement would be increasing the occupancy by 20% within the year. So measurement, we're going to do this. So we're going to do occupancy rate. We're just going to do it by a percentage. So we'll go number of occupied rooms divided by total number of available rooms times 100. That should probably be close bracket. Okay, and then so data source, and just again for reference, so there is also in your resource book, not just the scenario, but on page 7, the one after the scenario, it just kind of outlines the definitions of each of these like the definitions from the KPI document for reference, just so that if you're kind of wondering why I'm putting what where, it's all on page 7, and then page 6 is the scenario. So for data source, we'll put reservation system or property management software. And then our baseline metric. So we're gonna say that right now our current occupancy rate is at 60%. And our target value, so we're gonna say increase occupancy rate to 80% then, because we're trying to increase it by 20% within the next year. And then responsibility would be, we'll say the marketing manager, but obviously some businesses are smaller, so maybe it's just a key person. You could even just put their name. For example, we could just say one person, maybe there's two people, but normally it's best to have one person in charge, and then maybe that person, there's a couple people under them. But as long as there's one sole person that's accountable, put them down. And then frequency. So we are going to say that we are going to check to see how our occupancy rate is increasing on a monthly basis. And just because we do have 12 months to work with if we're trying to attain the goal in a year. And then that gives us some time to see if, hey, maybe certain months we are putting more money towards Facebook ad spend versus others, kind of just seeing the relation of if our advertising spend is actually working or to what extent it would be working at. And then report format. So we are going to say, okay, so to outline, report format would be just kind of outlining how we want everything to be outlined in our documents. So we'll say a percentage breakdown of occupied rooms versus available rooms with month-to-month comparison. And this is important for our next document that we're going to fill out. And then obviously along with insights from the Facebook ads campaign. So that's kind of the stuff that we're going to be tracking in our next sheet. And then action plan. So just kind of clearly outlining the actions taken based on the performance. So implement a targeted Facebook ads campaign to promote special offers, packages, and events at the B&B. Create compelling ad creatives and messaging tailored to the target audience. Monitor ad performance metrics such as reach, engagement. Sorry, it's getting kind of small here. And we'll say click-through rates. So here you can kind of get very specific for the action plan. And the more detailed you are, the better in the action plan section. Sorry, it's a mouthful. And then obviously this is getting kind of small, but I would like to include that throughout the months based on the budget or based on the performance of the previous month and the comparisons, that the amount for the Facebook targeting campaign or ads campaign would be adjusted and potentially targeting maybe slightly changed depending on the results from the month prior. So a review schedule. So this is just when the KPIs should be reviewed. And we're going to say monthly because we are working with a year here, so 12 months. Monthly review meetings to analyze occupancy trends, review Facebook ads campaign performance, identify challenges, and of course, adjust strategies accordingly. Okay, so that is kind of it for the KPI template document. Does anybody have any questions before I move on to the next document. Just gonna pull up. I seem to have lost my chat here, so I'm just gonna see if I can find it. Okay, so yes, if you do have any questions, pop it in the chat, 'cause that was a lot of information in a really short period of time. But again, the resource book is going to be your best friend for these, because it kind of has just an outline of what each of those definitions means. And then you can kind of reference back to page 6, the scenario, and then obviously the workbook. So now that we have this KPI that's kind of created, what we're going to do is we want to kind of create a template spreadsheet. And I'm going to stop my screen share right now and then share something else. Because completing this KPI spreadsheet will also be important, just so that we can kind of see which metrics we're going to be monitoring each month. So I'm just going to bear with me for 1 second. Stop my screen share again, and then I'm going to share something else. We're all over the place today. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So this one is just a very basic template that I kind of create just in Excel, because it's super easy and super basic. But I kind of, at the bottom, you can see have different tabs that kind of I'll add and I'll change, but those will be like the different metrics that I'll be tracking in relation to that one key performance indicator. So I am going to quickly update this one so that it looks similar. And we're just going to do one, but I can kind of come up with some ideas at the bottom here that we could also focus on during this scenario. But I'm just going to say, so it's super basic. You can kind of just change it accordingly. Obviously, because this is for a month, there should probably be a month's worth, but in your workbook exercise, I just put 4 months for simplistic, to be simple, and just have to get the idea. So then up here, I would just go occupied rooms, and then available rooms, and difference compared to previous month. Maybe let's quickly that. Okay. So here is kind of where you would fill out for this scenario. I guess we don't have the actual numbers, but it would be kind of the total occupancy rate for March 2024. So it's a small bed and breakfast. Let's say the occupancy rate, occupancy rooms, there's only 4 rooms there. And we'll say that it was rented for, we're starting at the base, so we're going to say 60, because we're trying to get to 80% just based on that scenario. Occupied rooms, available rooms, we'll say, sorry, I'm just going to quickly go through here. I have to quickly check back on the scenario here. 1 moment, please. I have a couple devices here for this scenario. Okay, so increasing the occupancy rate by 20% within the next year, and we started at 60%. We're going to say that there was 4 rooms that were available. Sorry, I should have included that in the scenario. And then those rooms, let's say that there's just available rooms is 4. I'll quickly go back to my math here. Okay, so our baseline metric was that we're currently at 60%. We had then our KPI, and then we want to increase. So measurement occupancy rate, there it is percentage. So number of occupied rooms over total rooms times 100. So we're going to just say that we're starting at this. So sorry, this is what should be. And so although there is 4 rooms, those rooms are available on multiple different days. So we're just going to do a little bit of quick math here. So it's going to pull up my calculator. So we'll say that technically every single day there was, in 1 month of 30 days, there's 120 rooms. And then we'll say that this was a busier month than normal and that there was 80 occupied rooms. So it's kind of, whoa, 80. Okay, 80 rooms. I don't know why Excel does that sometimes, but for this one metric that's tied to the key performance indicator document that we created on occupancy rates, every single month we could track this, but we just need to make sure that we're using the same thing. So if we're saying that there's basically 120 rooms, 30 days a month, obviously there's some months where there's more and less, but we're just going to average it to 30, and then totally in the amount of occupied rooms and the available rooms. And honestly, this could get specific, like there are 31 days in March, so we could say 124. So the kind of how we're figuring this out, and if so that you don't forget it, is just going rooms times days. And I always add this stuff when I'm tracking metrics, or I make little notes throughout the spreadsheet, just so that because after a month goes by, sometimes you can't remember why you put that number. So if you can be as specific as to why you've come up with that, it will really help. So then, yes, you would just fill this out each month, but this is obviously just targeting the occupancy rate. So how about our ad performance campaign, right? So we'll say, we'll just do something simple as the reach. So on the ad, so I'm just gonna copy this, sorry. Total reach, but we'll just say total reach. And then obviously our base marks will be at beginning. So we'll just kind of say, reach. I don't think we need this one, and then just kind of overall growth. And then we would kind of do that the same, but then change the month so that each month you can move forward. And obviously with a Facebook ads campaign, there would be more. So I would even do like website clicks from the Facebook ad campaign to the through to your website to actually book website clicks for booking. And I would actually maybe take this one step further, and I would do one tab for website clicks and then one tab for website bookings, just kind of see like the conversion rate and the data of that. So then I would just kind of change this again, but I would go website clicks through the ad campaign, obviously. And I would keep doing this. So I go like April. Oops. And then obviously for because this is a year, I would do a year downward. So I wouldn't just do March, April, and May. So that's kind of the gist of that. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know and pop them in the chat. If you would like, I did include kind of just a brief overview in the resource book of a KPI template document and also the KPI tracking sheet. But if you would also like the digital copy, so just like this basic Excel spreadsheet as a starter point, and then also just the fillable KPI document, that I was working on, feel free to pop your email in the chat and I can get that to you. No problem. Just for a basic starting point, I'm always of the opinion that the KPIs don't have to look attractive or be beautiful. It's really just data. So there's nothing, it's not like the marketing side of things where a campaign is pretty and engaging. It's quite basic, but it does give you the data that you want over time or that your organization wants. And it allows you to pivot accordingly, which is super important that you're not only tracking these measurements to see the effectiveness of your digital marketing campaigns, but also just looking back over a time period of 3 months or 6 months and kind of seeing what's working and what's not is the best thing that you can do to alter your marketing strategy. And obviously I've had a client, for example, who was a fitness club. And so at the fitness club, it's notorious that during the summer months, people put freezes on their memberships because they don't want to go into the gym when the weather is finally beautiful out. So what we had done is we created a KPI, and the KPI was just tracking new memberships in the month of June, which is super rare. But we had this kind of like June, July, August promo that if you stay with us, you'll get an incentive type deal. And that was a really cool KPI to track because we were able to pull data from the previous 5 years and kind of see the difference, because normally it drops, but kind of see the effectiveness of our Facebook ads and our Google ads and all of those things. And I'm just of the opinion that if you can keep it as simple as possible, when you are doing these KPIs, you'll see the results and it won't be as stressful as trying to kind of go into every nook and cranny, as long as you kind of pull out the few main points that are aligned to your business objectives, and then the measurements that you need to track with the digital marketing channels that you're using. It kind of all fits in beautifully. So if you do want access to those digital documents, feel free to put your email in the chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
I'm just going to make a comment of really good information, and kind of just kind of breaking it down and looking at, I mean, the simplicity of just SMART goals, right? And just going through of like that. I think that's very basic framework, but again, just reminding us that it doesn't have to be very big and elaborate, but really just honing in on what do we want to capture and how do we make that then a SMART goal, and then how do we move forward looking at it as a KPI indicator. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, really good. So again, if anyone does have any questions, please just drop those in the chat. I am just going to share my screen back here while we're kind of waiting on any of that. So some more upcoming training that we do have to offer here with Tourism Saskatchewan. Next week, we have managing social media with limited resources. We do have a search engine optimization fundamentals. So again, a lot of what we've talked about throughout our webinars, you've heard SEOs, and you've heard even today Sarah talking about search engine optimization. We do have a webinar on that, so you will understand a little bit more how to build a marketing system. Again, the tools that you're learning from today can transfer over and again help build your brand and your organization and your company. We do have a workshop on TikTok and how to use TikTok to your best advantage. The local pocket training, we are coming down to the Coronach area to do a one-day in-person training event. So if you're in and around that area or know people in and around that area, feel free to let them know that Tourism Saskatchewan will be down and we'll be hosting a variety of training. And then we do have some in-person service best training. So again, if you're in that Swift Current or Nipawin area, we do have training in person. Again, all of our training is complimentary, so there is no cost. So if you know people in and around those areas and you've taken the service best or you're interested in it yourself and you're going to be in those areas, feel free to join and attend. Again, if you need any more information, feel free to contact us, and we love hearing from you. So, with that, Sarah, we do have a question.
Oh,
So it says, should this be used specific to a campaign, or what would you recommend using KPI for overall brand awareness?
so I would say that a specific campaign would be the best way to kind of like merge your digital marketing strategy with your campaign. Oh, sorry, I lost the question. Oh, okay. For overall brand awareness, if that's super broad, I would kind of say that maybe what you could do is if you're doing like a certain digital marketing strategy within your overall brand awareness, then to use a KPI, sorry, on that, and then kind of dive into it. And maybe there's a few different channels you're using, so then you can kind of have a few different KPIs that obviously have overall brand awareness as your overarching business objective, if that makes sense. Okay, sorry. If you have any more questions on that, I could definitely help. If you even wanted to send me an email or phone call me or give me a phone call, I could kind of maybe work with you better on what exactly your business is and then your brand awareness to kind of help you give a little bit more of a detailed answer. But that's kind of what I would see just looking at that question.
So I think it's a bit of a follow-up to that question. What are indicators that your numbers are made by your strategy versus something different? Example, more sales but can't discern where they came from. Do you need to draw information at the time of sale um, to work with that first?
Okay, so could you repeat that, please? Sorry.
Yeah. So it says, what are indicators that your numbers are made by your strategy versus something different? Example, more sales, but can't discern where they came from. Do you need to draw information at the time of sale?
Okay, so um it's the drawing stuff from the certain sale at the end that keeps catching me. Um at the There's obviously certain other factors that will happen versus just your digital marketing strategy that will bring you business. So I think making your benchmark number in your KPI document just being your sales, and if you can kind of say you're looking for sales for the next year, and you can kind of have that benchmark number from the previous year for all your sales, then you can see if your digital marketing efforts have any, I guess, act or are related or are having any impact on your sales. But it's kind of hard to dive into absolutely where every sale is coming from if you don't know where they are. It's kind of just trying to make the best. Sorry, I'm missing another question. Trying to make the most with what you have. What are indicators that your numbers are made by your strategy versus something different? More sales, but can't discern where they came from. Do you need to draw information on the time of sales? Sorry, I don't quite. Did what I just said answer your question, or I can keep? What are the indicators that your numbers are made by your strategy? I would honestly, what I would do is that you have your strategy for the first year and then you benchmark your sales numbers from the previous years to see if your strategy has any impact on your sales compared to what was done before. In terms of seeing where your sales all came from, that could be another type of KPI or tracking mechanism where you can outline where all your KPIs are coming or where all your sales are coming from. And then you would also need to just kind of monitor where each sale is going through and then benchmark those, if that makes sense. Hopefully. Sorry. It's kind of hard without the exact specific example, but thank you. And thanks for attending, everyone. But yeah, if there is any more questions on this, if you wanted to give me a phone call, I could maybe help you a little bit better once I know what the business is. Oh, yes. Yeah. You could get customers to fill out a survey every time they book. I didn't realize that you were kind of in the booking industry, but yes, you could do that. And you could also even just KPI how many people are wanting to fill out the survey. That could kind of be a tracking mechanism. If that answers it. Thank you for attending.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for your time and all of those great, I guess, tidbits and knowledge.
Yeah.
There's just one more that just popped up in the chat.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope that answered your question. Sorry, that was kind of a broken up answer in a few different pieces.
Okay. So the question in the chat goes, I think the question raises a common issue for organizations that have multiple channels, social media ads, magazine ads, trade shows, etc., and are not able to directly attribute sales to being driven by specific channels or actions.
The question. Yes, well, most organizations do have multiple channels. The point of these KPIs is how your digital marketing is like working on your bottom line. So this is kind of focused on just digital marketing channels and monitoring KPIs with digital marketing channels. That makes sense. So you wouldn't be tracking trade shows unless there was some kind of form that they needed to fill out digitally at your booth. And then for magazine ads, that would be a digital marketing channel. That would be a print strategy. So kind of there is lots of different channels. So it's kind of seeing the effectiveness of your digital marketing strategy.